Shazam! Fury of the Gods is the beginning of the new James Gunn DC Universe era, or at least I'd like to think so, because this movie was actually that good that I hope James Gunn carries it. But is the movie really good, or is it just pretty good? Whatever it is, let's get on to it on our review. So I finally got to see Shazam! Fury of the Gods. No spoilers, I'm not going to spoil anything at all, but I gotta say this, it was actually so much better. The marketing, the trailers, the commercials. I even went back and rewatched the trailers, and I think the movie did well at its marketing. However, I think the issue is, I do think there's superhero fatigue going on. It's not there yet, but I feel like we live in a time where we've seen the traditional superhero flick, and people have been so accustomed to it that now it becomes the usual, right? And I feel like the trailers, even if they marketed it pretty decently, it's just that the movie doesn't have much to reel you in besides superhero movie. When we live in a time where a superhero movie has to be really unique, whether it's Multiverse of Madness, this horror style film, or a movie that introduces you characters that from the past, like No Way Home. And I feel like now no matter how good a movie is, if you're not marketing something unique or something special to the audiences, you're not gonna get much of a box office drop. So let me get it out of the way. Shazam was actually a really good movie. Like it was. I love this movie, and I love the first one. And I do think your opinion on the film is gonna be determined based on whether or not you like the first film. It is very similar to the first film in tone, character, everything. There's some things I prefer about the first film, but there's also things I prefer about this second film. There's quite a couple of things. Now, the best part of this film is the family aspect. I'm just going to say it out straight up. The family. One of my issues with the last film is when they're in their superhero form, they don't really feel much of a family yet. But in this one, no matter whether they're kids, superhero form, whatever, they are family. And I really, really hope that Matt Shankman, or I can't remember his name, but the guy who's directing WandaVision, or he directed WandaVision, and is now going to direct Fantastic Four. I genuinely think that if he wants to get, because I do think the main important part of the Fantastic Four film is to get the family aspect right. I think he needs to watch this film, because this film really does the family stuff really well. And I gotta say that's the best part of the film, the whole family dynamic, everything about it. And you really felt like they all knew each other and they all loved each other. And I love that about this film. And I think the family part is better. Whether you're talking about Billy or any of the Shazamily, Pedro, Mary, Darla, yeah, I think that's her name, or Freddie, they all felt good. And I like that the story overall, the story is, Billy, of course, we learned in the last film, he was a foster kid. He never had a family. His mom abandoned him. He doesn't know who the heck his dad is, right? He's gone through this life of never feeling loved, but now he has that family, but now that family is growing, right? When we talk about Mary, now she has a job. Freddie doesn't want to hang out much with Billy anymore. There's like so much around. Not only that, but he also thinks he's gonna get kicked out. And I like that. One thing I appreciate so much about sequels is when a character changes based on what happened in the last film. And what I like is that in the last film, he was like, I want to turn 18. I want to gain my own independence. I want to be my own man. But then we get into this film, right? And now he's like, I don't want to be 18 because they're going to kick me out. I'm young. I want to be with my family. And I love that about the film, how different Billy changed into the second film. And I love that. Now, we'll talk about Asher Angel and Zachary Levi. But I got to say, the actor that stands out in this film. Now, in the first film, I said Zachary Levi. I think he stands out. And in this film, he stands out majorly. But I'll say this right now. Jack Dylan Grazer. This kid right here, he is something else. He is phenomenal. And the movie, and you see this in the trailers, the Shazamily loses their powers at times in this film. And Jack Dylan Grazer's character, it is obvious why his character loses powers for most of the film, because they want to keep Jack, because he's that great of an actor. No disrespect to the guy who plays his superhero counterpart. It's just that Jack is that great. As Freddy, he's just that lovable. I'm going to say this right now. He is similar to Ned in the Spider-Man flicks. He is the heart of the film. He is not the starring role, but he is the heart of the film, and I really love him. Now, Asher Angel, I would say there's almost an opposite effect to him. I like Asher Angel. He's a good actor, and I like him in this movie too. Except he's barely in it. He's barely in it. I think all the other kids had more of a role than Asher, right? But at the same time, I'm fine with that because I love Zachary Levi. He is perfect as Shazam or Captain Marvel. Wink, wink. If you watch the movie, that actually hurt my eyes. Now I look weird. Someone's gonna clip that out and be like, "Look, this guy's weird. You should subscribe to him," which is something I've been trying to warn y'all for the longest time, right? But no, overall, Zachary Levi was great. Asher Angel, well, he had very few scenes, not good. Now I'll answer one thing. One of the tiny issues I had in the first one. This is such a tiny issue. It's not really even an issue. Is Billy is different when he's in a superhero form. When he's a kid, he's like more serious, more grounded. He thinks the world's out to get him. But when he's Shazam, the superhero counterpart, he's more loose. He's more fun. Now I've always drawn it to, hey, if you're a kid and you have powers, you're gonna be just messing around. You're just gonna be doing whatever you want because it's superpowers. Like, what other opportunity you're gonna get to have these kinds of abilities? And you do get that with this part too. Every time Asher is on screen, he's more serious, but he's barely in it. And I mean, there's one scene in the beginning where he's playing video games with I don't remember the Asian kid's name, but the Asian brother. But yeah, the rest of the cast was great with what they did. The villains were another standout. I think the standout is Lucy Liu. I'll say this right now: the marketing team. I don't know why the heck they made Lucy Liu look like a small character. She is a main part of this film. She is a major part of it. And in the trailers, they make it out like she's some side character. They're mainly marketing Helen Mirren, which I guess I can't blame them because Helen Mirren is more known, more noticeable. But Helen was also great. She was great with what she did. I really like watching her in this film. But Lucy Liu was the standout, major standout in this film. I'm not saying that she's like this. She's not a villain. Calypso, I think that's her name. She's not a villain I'm gonna remember. But I'm just saying her amount of time on screen, what she does in the film, is so drastic to the trailer's portrayal of what she was gonna be that it almost blows you away when you're watching the film. Like, she's not a Thanos level or Heath Ledger Joker, but she's like, you're just kind of like, oh, she's more important than the trailers made it out to seem. And then there's Rachel Ziegler, great Latina girl. I didn't know she was in West Side Story, which I love that film. I'm not a musical guy, but I really loved what they were able to do with that film. But Rachel Ziegler, she was good in this film. I like her. I like her chemistry with Jack Dylan Grazer, although I will say this, though. Jack does steal quite literally every scene they're in together, but she did great playing Anthea, one of the daughters of Atlas, which I know apparently they're not in the comics. Now, I didn't read much Shazam comics growing up. I wasn't the biggest Shazam guy. I remember reading a couple Captain Marvel comics, but that was about it. Like, I can count them through my finger, like probably 5 comics, but I did like what I read. And so I don't know if the Daughter of Atlas are real villains, but they feel like it. They feel very comic booky in a good way. They're unique. The fantasy aspect, which is one of the best parts of this film, the whole fantasy, Greek mythology aspect of the film. I love all of that. And one thing I appreciate when movies do is embrace their silliness. The reason why I love the Sonic 2 movie, but I don't like the first one, and yeah, I know that's an unpopular opinion, is that Sonic 2 took risk. It used what people love about Sonic already and gave that to you. I think you got to give people what they love. And I feel like embracing what made people love your character in the first place is great. And I love that the Shazam movie embraced that. The fun goofiness, the wizardry of it all, the mythology of it. And I love that. And it's similar to Sonic, you know. And I know the first movie was also like this. I'm just saying that I like that this movie continues that trend, right? But I really like that. The parents were also good. I think there's a specific story with the mom that I really like, with Billy, where Billy's still struggling to call her mom. And I like that there's a little story to that. There's an arc. This movie is about family. Of course, Billy doesn't want to see a family grow up and all that, or that. But the dad doesn't really have much of a role, but he's funny in every scene. The best example I could use of this dad is if you've seen Turning Red. The dad is there. He has a few emotional moments, and he's funny every time he's there. You barely get him, but every time you get him, you really love him. And I love that too. And I love the family. I love the villains. I love a lot of this film. Now, the VFX, CGI, you guys know me. I'm not big into critiquing CGI VFX. I always appreciate, because I know there's hundreds of people working on that stuff. I know that's expensive. Because I'll say this right now. As a kid, I love watching that stuff. And so I always appreciate that they're able... Because putting a fucking dragon in a movie... I apologize for my cursing, but like... Putting a dragon in a movie, that is cool. I don't care. And I didn't feel any bad CGI or bad VFX, but even if it was, I don't care. Just, it looks cool. If I was a kid, I'd love this. Right? I would have loved this as a kid, and I love this now. Seeing dragons, seeing all these beasts. You saw a one-eyed beast. You saw unicorns, which you do see in the trailers. By the way, if you're going to watch this movie, you gotta buy Skittles. Just saying, you'll thank me later. But no, overall I enjoyed this film. There's some horror elements. I know David Sandberg directs horror stuff, and there are moments in this, and I forgot about that until watching the film. I was like, oh yeah, the first Shazam movie had horror aspects to it. And watching this, I was like, yeah, David definitely wanted to add this horror stuff, and I gotta give him major props for that. There's also a scene that he cameos in. At least I think it's him. Like, I don't mean to be that guy, but David does kind of look like the average chubby white guy. Not trying to be that guy, but he does look like that. So maybe I'm being racist right now. That could have just been another extra. But no, I think it is David Sandberg. I think he's a great director. I think he was able to really hit it on the nose this film. There are 2 post-credit scenes. I enjoyed the first one. I wasn't able to see the second one, as I did have to leave the theater quickly because I had to do something after. So I don't know what the second one is, but from the people that I know that have seen the film, they said that the second post-credit scene is not important. But the first one was actually pretty funny. It was adorable. I really like it. And that's to sum up this film. It was an adorable, family-friendly film. I hate how people... Every time I hear people criticize Shazam, they're always like, it's too family-friendly, it's too childish. It's like, bro, I don't care what you say. Captain Marvel is a childish character. I'm sorry, but this is a character that a parent should be able to take their kids and think, hey, my kids are going to have a good time, and I don't have to worry about blood, gore, or whatever. Although the first film, there was a scene where they were in a strip club. But that's beside the point. That's besides the point. Overall, I think kids should be able to go watch this film. Right? It's a family-friendly... It's a kid that turns into a superhero. What more do you want? And I'm sorry, but I love the family-friendly nature of the film. I like that. Because I want to be able to take my nephews to this film. I'm planning on doing that later this week. And I love that. And I think that's what should continue with this character. There's some other characters like Batman, Harley Quinn. There's other characters like that, hey, they can be more adult, like more mature. But I just think there's certain characters that should stay family-friendly. It's why I didn't like the Velma idea from the beginning, because I just think a Scooby-Doo thing should be for kids and all that. But no, overall, I enjoyed this film. I loved it. I don't think it's better than the first one. I think it's at the same par. And like I said earlier, if you didn't like the first one, this movie's not going to change your mind. Same with the other, vice versa. If you like it, you're going to probably like this film. That's all I really got to say. Now, do I have any criticisms? Not really. I think you could have probably cut out a few scenes in this movie, maybe like 5 minutes at most, but even then it doesn't really matter. Wonder Woman's in the film, not a spoiler, that's being marketed heavily now, but the Wonder Woman scene was cool. I won't say why she's in it, but there is a funny scene with her in that I really laughed a lot and I did not expect was going to happen, but Wonder Woman, I will say this though, watching the film, and I won't say what her scene is, no spoilers. Watching her in the movie, or watching the movie, you kind of figured why she was going to show up. I'm gonna be vague, but you figure out why she shows up while watching the film. I will say this though, and I hinted at it at the beginning, but I don't see anyone else playing Shazam I'm being dead honest right now. I think James Gunn should keep Zachary Levi and the rest of the Shazam in his DC universe. And I think it could tie well. If you're going to keep certain characters, I think Shazam's one of them. And I know the box office is not doing well, but like, I don't know. Because Zachary Levi is a D-list actor. You already got him on low wage, or I think so. I don't know. It's not like I keep up with that stuff, but I can't imagine somebody else. Like, they've really hit the jackpot with this guy. I don't see anyone else that can play Billy Batson better than him. I'm not saying he's this prestige Robert Downey Jr. kind of actor, or Chris Evans, or Ben Affleck. But from what he gets, I just don't see somebody else playing him. And I think he'd be perfect for the DC Universe chapter Gods and Monsters. I think he fits in that because this film has gods and monsters. Not saying that's the reason why I should say it, but it is part of it. And I don't know. I feel like you could move this film into the DC universe, and I think it'd be perfect. And I say this right now. I think he might stay. This is just my theory. This is my theory, but I think this movie's after the DC reboot, and I'm gonna explain why. This is not a spoiler. This happens in the very, very beginning of the film. There's two things that make me think this is after the Flash, and this is after the DC reboot. Number one, you see a guy in the beginning. He's this guy right here, and I'm gonna put him on screen. In Peacemaker, he was the janitor. He snuck weed in for Peacemaker, and he shows up in this film. Except he's a completely different character. He plays a museum. He's just a museum employee, and he's only there for a few seconds. Now, it's possible that because he was barely in Peacemaker, they accidentally casted him for this, kind of not realizing it. And I'd see that. That would be a mistake, I think, honestly, is possible. However, I think another possibility, hear me out, is he was a little way of hinting that there is a reboot already. He got rebooted. He's added to this universe. Not saying he's going to be a character that stays on. If you watch the movie, you know why I say that. But he went from this janitor guy. Now he's a museum employee who's explaining the museum. So he isn't just any employee. He's an important employee. He explains this specific artifact in the film. And I really wonder, he was a little hint, wink, wink, at that there's a reboot's happened already. Just because he's so vastly different in this one than he was in the last one. Another thing, another addition. And this was said by the Hollywood Reporter, by the way, that this movie was supposed to be after the Flash film. So maybe this is just before. Maybe Gunn changed his mind. I don't know. But another thing is, so in the end of the first Shazam movie, you have the family together. They break the staff, which that's important to this film. But they break the Shazam staff. They cut back to that scene in this movie, but now they're wearing the new costumes because the costumes are now different from the last film. Maybe that was a hint, wink, wink at, yeah, the suits are changed because a reboot happened, right? But again, this could have been before, so I don't know if they're gonna keep it after. But anyways, that's just my theory. That's just my crazy theory. But anyways, thank you guys for watching this review. If you sticked around till the end, thank you so much, guys. I love you. No homo, of course, you know. But I will say there's actually a funny scene that I think if you're LGBT, you're gonna like the scene a lot. I think it's a sweet scene. Being vague about that because no spoilers, but there's an LGBT scene that I think a lot of you LGBT people would like. Although I will say there's a lot of those what people are gonna get mad. There's gonna be some people who are like, what is this going on? And it's like, no, shut up, bro, shut up. Zachary Levi is literally a Christian white guy. I don't know what more you want me to say, but anyways, that's it for my review. Thank you guys for watching this review. Whatever you guys think, let us know in the comment section down below. Do you agree, disagree? Have you seen the movie? Have you not? Whatever it is, let us know in the comment section down below. And let me know what you think. Anyways, thank you guys for watching. See you on the next one. Ciao!
Where do you go to? Where do you go? Where do you go to? I wanna know. How do you do it? That thing you do. Follow you blindly, I'll be your fool. Cinderella, I think I'll find your glass slipper, baby.